We're continuing our look at the Gospel of Luke and Jesus' ministry, really his mission to bring restoration to people, restoration to broken hearts, broken bodies, the restoration of our dignity in his grace. Today, we're going to look at a passage from Luke chapter 7 where we see people who are broken, people who have a sense of shame, and how they deal with it differently. One burying that sense of shame under good works and accomplishments, and the other coming face to face with her shame. Let's look at this passage, Luke chapter 7, beginning in verse 36. One of the Pharisees asked him, that's Jesus, to eat with him, and he went into the Pharisee's house and reclined at table. And behold, a woman of the city, who was a sinner, when she learned that he was reclining at table in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster flask of ointment, and standing behind him at his feet, weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears and wiped them with the hair of her head, and kissed his feet and anointed them with ointment. Now when the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would have known who and what sort of woman this is who is touching him, for she is a sinner. And Jesus answering said to him, Simon, I have something to say to you. And he answered, say it, teacher. A certain moneylender had two debtors. One owed 500 denarii and the other 50. When they could not pay, he canceled the debt of both. Now which of them will love him more? Simon answered, the one, I suppose, for whom he canceled the larger debt. And he said to him, you have judged rightly. Then turning toward the woman, he said to Simon, do you see this woman? I entered your house. You gave me no water for my feet, but she has wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You gave me no kiss, but from the time I came in, she has not ceased to kiss my feet. You did not anoint my head with oil, but she has anointed my feet with ointment. Therefore I tell you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But he who is forgiven little loves little. And he said to her, your sins are forgiven. Then those who were at the table with him began to say among themselves, who is this who even forgives sins? And he said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. It's a fascinating story about how two different people address their need for grace, how they address their failures. There's a lot of shame in failing, in not coming through, and the ways we can fail in this life are myriad. We fail to be a good provider. We fail to reach our potential. We fail to be a good mom or dad. We're failures as sons and daughters to make our parents proud. And we can go with darker things as well. Shame over theft or adultery or even violence. Again, the ways we can fail and have a sense of shame for our failure are myriad, but we see at least two ways that people fail in this passage. One is through immorality, and the other is through self-righteousness. There is this woman, a woman who was a sinner. That's the only way she's identified in this passage in verse 37. And then there's Simon the Pharisee, who is so blinded by his sense of self-righteousness that he can't see how judgmental, how arrogant, and how cruel he's being. The fear of our failures and the shame that comes along with it can lead us either to try and bury that under our efforts to be good, or to simply run away from it and just stay ahead of it. Now, Simon has buried his failures under self-righteousness. And to be a Pharisee, he had to be a man of accomplishment, a scholar of the scriptures, a certain character of life. He was a respectable person. And sometimes we think Pharisees, those of you who know the scriptures, think Pharisees didn't believe in grace. They trusted their works to be good, but that's not true. The Pharisees understood there was a need for grace. But some people, they believed, were simply beyond redemption. Pharisees and respectable people commit more forgivable sins, or at least that was their perception. And that's where the story of the two debtors comes in. Now, an important term to understand is this term of denarii. What is a denarii? Well, that was a monetary compensation for one day's wage. You worked an honest day, and you got proper compensation, and that was one denarii. So 50 denarii was about 2 months' wages. Maybe you can think of it like a car loan, that kind of debt, a nice car. 500 denarii was over a year's wage. That's more like the mortgage on your house. Simon knows he needs grace, but he only needs car loan grace. You might say that he's qualified to receive grace from God because his debt isn't that big, and he hides the true depths of his shame under his respectability. Now, maybe you're like that, but some of us know we can't hide that way. So our defense is to simply run, to deny, to ignore, to distract ourselves, because we know that in the end, if we think about it, we're disqualified from God's grace. So we run from God, we run from God's people, maybe we run from our family, we bury our shame under the pursuit of wealth or toys, or maybe with booze, pills, sex, and in the process, we only compound our shame. We are all tempted to hide from our failures, and we either do that in self-righteousness or in immoral pursuits. We put up defenses, and they're defenses that really aren't up to the job. How do I know that? Well, because over time, they are less and less effective. They were never effective to actually cover our sin, but they were effective to distract us from the truth, but they become less effective over time. So we run even harder, or we insist even more loudly that we are good people, and we actually become kind of shrill about insisting on our goodness. But the thing is, we all need grace. And Jesus tells us in the parable that grace is there for all people, no matter the size of your debt, whether it's car loans or house mortgages, whether you're qualified or disqualified. Grace is there for us. I think of a contemporary Christian song, Lord, I Need You, and one of the lines from it goes like this: Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. We all need grace. And the good news is that it is there for us. You are not beyond the reach of God's grace. You are not beyond the reach of his restoration. Believe that today. Blessings on you all.